Hello, 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 Bam. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to have you. I'm super excited. First and foremost, thank you for being on the podcast. This is my new territory, but I want everybody to meet all of the goody greatness that's surrounding me. And so I really appreciate you coming on to share with the peoples.
Well, I love you. You were on my podcast as well. And so this is like this mutual love. So it is mutual in love. And I'm super excited to have you doing this podcast because people need to hear your message.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. So they've already heard all about you via your bio, but you want to tell them a little bit about you?
So I was born in, I'm joking.
I love it. By a river.
Okay, well, technically not far from a river.
Really?
Where I grew up, it's a low key random story. Where I grew up has all these canals. So if the bridge is broke in an earthquake, we'd be SOL because there's you have to cross a bridge to get over one way or another to get out of the water. So it's like this all these little canals. It reminds me of Amsterdam, but not as cute and not as fun. But I'm
Interesting.
from the Bay Area. So if you hear the word hella, don't be shocked. It is my favorite word and it comes out so naturally outside of that in my Italian. But I am Danielle Washington. I am the host of the Hello Well with Danielle podcast, as well as the founder of Rogue Experiences, which is a travel company that curates intimate trips for women of color who are busy, overworked, and in need of a break and are ready to take their self care to another level. So
Mhm.
that's me. Oh, and duh, and I'm a Reiki master. I always, it's one of those things like, oh yeah, and I'm a certified Reiki master. I forget about that some days.
Because it's just natural too. It just comes.
It
So
is natural, and it was one of the things that I had to come to terms with that I'm a healer. Not
mhm.
only am I a certified Reiki master, but I am an intuitive, and I have these intuitive gifts that I've been using all my life, but I just wasn't ready to accept that.
that's that's real life. That's
Yeah.
real life. Because there have been some gifts that I was like, God, I really don't want that one. Can you take that one
Mhm.
away?
Can I exchange this? Because
Exactly.
is there like a gift exchange, like a return fund? Like,
There's
is there
customer
something like
service,
that?
exactly. So, no, that's and being ready to embrace that is you have to be ready to embrace those things in order to really do the good that you're supposed to do with those things. So, I totally, totally understand that. So, I wanna jump into the goody goodness. I got questions, the ABCs to clarity. And for you, I'm so excited to talk to you today. I really, really am. So they already know A is accept, B is believe, and C is connect the dots and with people. And so with you, this is going to be so good. So let's jump right on in. The first question that I always ask is what's something you had to have or still have to accept about your past, present, or future for you to excuse me, for you to be free to ignite and reach the heights of your business that you want to get to?
So your questions were bomb. I was like, okay, dang, this feels like I'm back in school. I'm like the pressure, but that's just because that's the Virgo in me that was like, oh, I got to do it this way. And so anyway, but it also made me think. Your questions were very reflective, and how did I get to where I am today? And to be honest, the one of the things I had to accept, and still having to accept, that I'm meant to lead, that I am meant to help others. I like low key, and I'm not so low key anymore, but I've been low key saying, I want to be the Harriet Tubman of wellness. I want to be like, because I always feel like wellness is this thing where people are like, you have to do it this way. You need to be in these skinny jeans. You need to detox and you need to eat well and be vegan. Nah, sis. Wellness is like a custom made pair of jeans. And I want people to know that it's supposed to be what's right for you and not what everyone else is doing. And that it's all about your own journey. But it's like, I may be a little bit further ahead, but I want to help shine my light so you can see your light. But I have been fighting this leadership all my life. I have been fighting it in a way that as a child, I knew I was meant to change. I knew there was a social justice. And for me, the social justice I'm fighting is women of color not taking care of themselves and not putting themselves first. But like I've always knew it was meant to do something and make a change in this world. But I was like, nah, not me. I'm like, that must have been dreaming. But I felt it since I was a kid. But I fought it all my life in that mindset situation that I was like, oh, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Oh, I have to do this before I could lead. I need to do that before I could lead. Was all me saying to myself, nah, you weren't meant to be that. And I do like different readings because I don't know, that's just me. That's just me. So I'm like, I've gone to get my natal chart read. I've gotten, my numerology. I've done Akashic records. I've done, an IFA reading. I've, gone to a Babalo and Santeria. All of them say, sis, you were meant to lead and you were powerful. And I like look at them like, oh, maybe I should go to the next person. When I was able to accept that I don't need to keep in this validation and that it's already within me, that's been the game changer.
That's good. And what stuck out, well, first, I've had the natal and a few other things, but you said some ones that I don't know about. So now I'm like, ooh, what's that?
Which
But
one? I'm like, which one?
everything after something record.
Akashic records.
Yes, I had starting with that one and on. I haven't heard of those. So
Do you
I,
want to talk about that? Or do you want me to talk offline?
we'll talk offline, and then we might
Okay.
come back and bring it to the people. They might need to know about these things because
Yeah.
I truly believe, if religion is a funny thing, is what I'll say. And when it's run by humans, it can be misconstrued, right? We
Mm-hmm.
tend to make it mean what we want it to mean when we want it to mean whatever we want it to mean, right? But what I do also honestly believe is that God made people smart enough and gave them gifts to do certain things.
Yeah.
And that a lot of the unknowns is what scares people, and they don't want to do the work to find out the truth behind it all, right?
Yeah.
And so I know I have friends that I'm like, yeah, I got a tarot card reading. And they're like, I don't do that stuff. And I'm like, okay. But at the end of the day, for me, it's literally learning to read and understand the stars and what that means at the date and time that you were born and how you came into this world and your manifestation of what you're supposed to do in this world based on the stars. That's my interpretation, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, ooh, interesting. And so, I'm all about respecting other people's space and boundaries, but at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, I encourage people to learn those things that you don't know, because a lot of times it's not as bad as it seems. And I'm one for systematic issues being a cause of our downfall throughout life, and there are some things that we are taught culturally and historically not to dive deeper into because
Yes.
someone
Goes
once
against
known.
God.
They knew that if we knew, things could
Yeah.
be different, right?
And it's
um,
comical because I hear people like, oh my God, why are you into crystals? That's the devil's work and woo woo woo. I'm like, you need to check yourself in your Bible because crystals were in the Bible. King Solomon's, temple was made of all these different crystals that you see people utilizing. And so people don't realize that, a lot of people say like, half the thing like Reiki and, getting your tarot read and all these other things are so woo woo. But the
mhm.
reality of it all, it's not woo woo. Our ancestors have been using these things and healing in all these ways since the beginning of time. And we're just now reconnecting as a culture with it because we're thinking, oh, that you're taking stuff from the others, but no, we started this stuff, and people don't realize that, and it's in the Bible.
Yeah, yeah. So we either choose to want to know better and do better, or we don't, and
Yep,
so, but
it's a choice.
I'm one for putting the information out there, um and letting them do what they will with it. So guys, if you're interested in knowing more, I'm going to direct you to Danielle. There are a few other people out there that I know, like, and love and trust. um Tamil from Overflow. I don't know if you know about her. I found
Mm-mm.
out about her from another friend. She's the tarot card reader that I Started following her on Instagram, and then she has a membership and a community that she fosters. And she incorporates, Bible, and she incorporates, excuse me, and she incorporates trap verses, which speaks to my heart as well.
Yes.
And so a lot of times I'll listen to my reading, because she'll do general readings for each month for
Hmm.
all the different signs. And I'm like, come through with the outcast. And it just makes it sink in even more. I'm
I
hood
love
and
that.
holy,
So is it astrology or is it tarot reading?
tarot.
Okay.
Hers is specifically tarot. So, but yeah, I love her. So I'll tag her in the show notes and stuff, and I'll share her with you on Instagram. But
No,
she's
she's great. I would also, if you're looking in for astrology,
mm-hmm.
Noelle, the vibologist,
Mm,
fire. I would definitely check her out. She is someone who I discovered on Clubhouse, and I also, follow her on Instagram. But she has such a gift and knowledge of breaking it down and
mm,
making sure that it is for us. But also she gives, like, if a part of her patron, she'll give you your own personalized monthly, this is what's up. And so, because like, we'll go online and we'll look at the, like, okay, this is what it says for this sign. No, this is for you at your birth time and your birthplace. And it's just been so informative. And again, I don't say that I follow everything or everything that's said. It's a tool. Just like, we use a tool like a hammer to do something or whatever. It's a tool, and it's one tool in my tool belt to get to what I call living hella well.
I'm so happy you said that, because yes, I don't think anything in life we're supposed to take it as verbatim and exactly, and it
Yeah.
is just that, a tool. That is perfect. Yes. Okay. So, what's one thing you must believe to achieve? We know it's a cliche, but there's some fact in it. Mindset is a real thing, and what you believe you manifest, and it starts with that. So, what's that one thing you believe you have to believe in order to achieve?
I could believe I could fly. I'm joking. I believe I can't sing. Um, and I didn't mean to snort either, but it comes out every blue moon. For me, I believe that you have to believe you're worthy of abundance. And that sounds cliche, but I've been doing this, entrepreneur thing for a bit, but until I started believing that I was worthy, honey, I was self-sabotaging. Things great would come in my way. Like, I had opportunities with different magazines and different brands, and I would just self-sabotage it without realizing that I was self-sabotaging it. And a great book I read was The Big Leap by Guy something. I don't know. It's a great book, but it really helped me realize that my limiting beliefs were getting in the way. And once I was able to believe I was worthy of abundance, honey, it's been a game changer.
That's truth. That's truth, because I tell people all the time, like, if you've heard my story, I always say I was born into survival mode,
Mm,
and it was normalized for me. So having that mindset of lack was a hindrance, and it did cause me to self-sabotage, and I literally did not realize it until college. I had a professor, and she's like, your paper was absolutely amazing until the very end, and you do this every single time. You self-sabotage, her exact words, at the very end. And I was like, no, I don't.
yeah, we're like, well,
In
look,
my head, right?
I'm doing all these great things. What are you talking about?
But she was right, and that one time I knew she was right, because I started ahead of time so I could go play, right? But time snuck up on me, and I was like, I'm done, right? And so that is really real. And it took somebody else telling me those exact words for me to even realize it. And from that day forward, I was like, something's got to give. But even then, it took what, almost 2 more decades
Hmm.
for me to really get to the point of saying, okay, this is what thriving is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And this is what we're going to do. And I always believed that there was more, but that belief that I deserved the more was the difference.
Yeah. And definitely, I worked with a business coach who was amazing. Like I was in a mastermind and I learned so much about how to run a business. But it didn't matter how much training I could have learned from, like, I don't know, Oprah or anyone you think is successful, because everything I learned, it was great. But if I wasn't willing to believe that that could happen for me, it was like, well, it was almost wasting my money at the time.
So very true. So very true. And I always want people to look at me and say, because she could, I can. Because there were others that I was like, now I know if she can, I can. Because you're a little,
You're
but
like, honey, how she? Yeah.
exactly, right? And I had a conversation with, and then I'll get back on topic, but I had a conversation with a close friend, and it was basically how do, because we're taught normally to be humble as a culture, right? And
Mhm.
so we feel that instead of living to our level of greatness, we'll
We'll play
lower
small.
our levels of, yes, to make them feel comfortable
Hmm.
instead of getting them to come up to our level, right? And so, and when we do that, it's looked as boastful or bragging. And I had to tell them it's not. If it's the facts, if it's the truth, it's not boastful, it's not bragging. You're not doing it to put someone else down. And if you continue to do what you do, you're gonna not help that young girl that's looking at you saying, because of you I can. Like, that whole movement started for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And so I really want people to look at it and say, hey, okay, she bumped her head. Maybe I don't bump my head that way. We all have our own lessons to learn, but because of her, I can. So, and that you do deserve. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that you threw that one out there, because you're right. If you don't believe it, you can go and be a knowledge hoarder for the rest of your life and do absolutely nothing with it.
Yep.
So, this,
Years,
mm-hmm,
years spent learning, 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 and not, and that whole thing about perfection.
mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, it has to be perfect.
That
So I
laugh.
can't do this. I can't put it out yet because it's not Virgo style perfect. And and the perfection was an excuse, and it was a shade over what was the real situation, was I didn't feel I was worthy.
Come step on somebody's toes today, okay? Please tap dance all over them, because that is the truth for most of us. That is so the truth for most of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Recovering perfectionist. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a day-to-day, day-to-day struggle, day-to-day struggle. Okay. So let's see. What's one belief you had to unlearn in order to achieve your level of success?
For me, I had to unlearn that as an entrepreneur, that I had to be in this hustle hard like mode, but also on top of that, that I had to buy into the strong Black woman persona. And that was a hard one to learn for me. A couple of years ago, I don't know if you know kind of my background story. Um, I had 6 people die in 1 year. And like 2 of them were like my everything. One of them was my cousin, who was like my mother, my sister, my therapist, my interventionist. She was everything to me. And she, passed away from cancer. And I caregived for her. And I caregived for one of my aunts as well. And I was so proud, like when she passed away, I was working like that. I was like, I didn't cry at the funeral. Well, let me rephrase that. I didn't cry inside the funeral. I went outside and fell on the ground so no one could see me, because I was like, I was, planning the funeral. So I was like, I gotta be strong. Um, But I went back to work and I was so proud of myself. I'm like, look at me. I didn't miss a beat. I'm planning this event. And I had three different friends who don't know each other all say the exact same thing. They're like, sis, you're grieving, you're being passive aggressive, you're being dismissive, like you need a break. And I'm like, the first two, I was like, they've lost their mind. They just don't know me. Like they're putting their issues onto me. I'm fine. I'm good. And then when the third friend, who was a really good friend who was close to me, I remember him calling me and him saying, and like him being a little bit nervous. And he's never nervous when he calls. And he's like, sis, you're grieving. You're being dismissive, you're being aggressive, and like you need to take a break. You need to allow yourself to grieve. And that's when it finally hit me. It was like, okay, I have a choice because I've been here before. I've been in a situation where life gave me these moments to like either change or suffer later on. And so, what does any person do? I got offline, got out of my business for a second, and ghosted the world and went to Bali. Because who doesn't go to Bali? And in that time, I thought, I had my Becoming by Michelle Obama. I had my journal. I picked this most remote, beautiful location. I'm going to type a self-care, my stuff, pains and grief away within 3 days. I had 3 days to do it. And then I was going to go to the beach, party it up and whatever. Chatia, that so didn't work out because every time I tried to journal or try to, type A my self-care to make it work, I would get a headache and my head were hurting. I couldn't think, I couldn't breathe. And then it got to the point where I was like, I just had to sit there. And I sat there and I had to recognize that I needed a break and that I needed to surrender and that this wasn't a hustle hard moment. This wasn't a be a strong Black woman moment. This was tap into you, tap into what's going on, and know that you need it this time right here to breathe. And so once I came back from Bali, I came back with another mindset that A, the answers are all within me. B, I don't have to continue to hustle, 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 hustle because that doesn't work for me. I need breaks to tap into my creativity, tap into source, tap into God, because when I'm going, going, going on the hamster wheel, it doesn't work for me.
Girl, it doesn't work for most of us, but that's what we've been ingrained, It's like we're already playing catch up, so you got to do more just to keep up,
Yep.
right? Nevertheless, get ahead. And
Yep.
and when you said headache, I was like, ooh, the stress. That unconscious stress, that stuff that we try to push away still shows up and rears its head. And most time it does it in our health. And
Mm-hmm.
we're wondering, oh, that runs in our family. No, stress runs in our family. Not eating well runs in our family, not exercising. The way we cope, because that's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. It's not dealing, it's coping. And
Yeah.
that coping mechanism isn't always the healthiest.
No, I agree with you. And like part of what I do as a Reiki master, and a lot of people don't know what Reiki is. Reiki is a Japanese technique of stress reduction and relaxation. And the way I like to describe it, it's like think if you have a room full of like all these clothes everywhere. It's all over the house and it's just messy. What Reiki does is it folds up all the clothes and puts them up neatly. And that's your energy and your emotions or our body. Our emotions and our energy are all out of whack, and when we think we have this back pain or neck pain, it's really some other thing that you're thinking. It's a mindset situation. But we don't realize that there's a connection between the two. And when your body's out of sort, it's going to show up one way or another. So when you're having emotional trauma or you're stressed or other things are just out of whack, it's going to show up in your body. And we don't pay attention to it. And like you said, people think, oh, I'm just runs in my family. It is what it is. I just have high blood pressure. Nah, your emotions are messing up your body and you're not paying attention to the how it affects you.
So that's a great analogy of Reiki. Like one I've never heard before, but that is a great analogy because anyone who knows laundry can be a stressor. It's like you have those people that are like, yeah, I don't mind doing the laundry, but the folding stresses me out.
Yeah,
So that is a great analogy. Because the mind is a powerful thing. It so
it
is.
is. And our body is giving us signs every single day about what's going on with us, with our mind, but
Mm.
we don't listen oftentimes.
Girl, and a lot of times we hear it and we be like, shush,
Yeah.
shush,
I'm
I got this
not,
to do.
not right now. I have these other priorities that I should be doing.
Exactly. Priorities. That's a whole
Mhm.
nother conversation. Okay, so what's one belief you have that you want your clients to instill in them?
So for me, one belief I really want my clients to instill is that we're at war. Our self-care is at war, and that life, living the life that you truly desire, is revolutionary. And what do I mean by saying that it's revolutionary is that we're taught to show our love, we need to sacrifice. We're taught that that's how we validate who we are. Like to validate that I'm a good person, I need to show that I can sacrifice better than anyone else. And what makes self-care and self-love revolutionary is that you're breaking up with that norm, what the society that tells us we should be doing. Um, and I want them to know that that is the key to your success. But it's not always going to be easy with it because I think, I mean, look at, Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement. That didn't look so easy, but they stuck with it. Um, and you have your ego who, is going to freak out when you start taking care of yourself. You start breaking these habits and start really loving on yourself and making yourself a priority. Your ego is going to freak out and be like, oh, wait, hold up, sis, you haven't sacrificed in a long time. Like you haven't done something for someone else that you didn't really want to do. Like, this feels awkward. Like
That
we need
part.
to sacrifice. I'm like, I got that itch. Um, but you gotta be able to get past it. And that's that revolutionary act.
That's good. That's so good because that is what we're taught love is
Hmm.
a sacrifice. Um, and I always want to tell people it's to me, love is selfless. It's not sacrificial. It is selfless though. But you got to love yourself first in order to
Yep.
be able to love others. And that includes boundaries. That includes saying, I'm going to put my oxygen mask on first
Hmm.
because I really don't know how much oxygen is left in this cabin. And I do want to be able to give and serve and help others. But a lot of times we're like, no, let me go save them first. And you pass out in the floor because there's no more oxygen left. Where if
Yeah.
you really truly would have just put your mask on first, took care of you first, didn't do those things you didn't want to do, and just said, okay, today I'm tired. I'm going to rest. I know I said I was going to do X, Y, and Z. I'm sorry I can't come through. But as long as I can refuel myself, I can be there for you at a later date and time. And unlearning that that's not the way to do it is very hard because it comes with guilt, shame.
Hmm. The
But
shoulds that you put on yourself and other
yeah.
people put on you, which is just literally a judgment.
And so, yeah, unlearning that one to relearn that self first is not selfish is a game changer. That's a
And it
good
even goes back to what you were saying. Like we want to give to everyone else before we give to ourselves. But if you really were honest with yourself, you ain't giving at 100%. So the people that you say you love and you want to give to, you're giving 3% or 4% because that's all you have. Versus if you gave to yourself first, you could give at a higher level. And that's love.
come on now. Because we're like, well, at least we gave something. Everybody, yeah, they should be grateful and thankful, supposedly, of your scraps, but really, do they really want your scraps? And is your scraps really what you want to give? Um,
Exactly.
And, I always say, give from your saucer, not from your cup. Give from your overflow. So your cup always stays full. You can't feed if you're not fed.
Yeah.
And so you gotta feed yourself first, just so you can have enough energy or supply to give at the level that you truly want to give and at the level that they truly need from you when you do give.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good one. How has embracing all aspects of you, like the whole thing contributed to your success or equipped you to do what you do?
So how has embracing all of me helped me? Embracing all of me has helped me realize that I'm not meant to stay in the box. I'm not meant to follow the path that everyone else has followed. And I'm one of those people who back in the day, I would like Google, I'm like, okay, let's check to see, okay, they're all doing this. Okay, so this is the right way to do it because that's what they're doing. When I, Once I was able to embrace all of me, my intuition, and all these different things, and trust myself and surrender to know that God, source, universe, ancestors have me and I'm okay and I can do this, I was able to realize that I'm meant to do things differently and it's okay. It's okay to carve out your own path. It's okay.
Come on now. And I do want to say this too, for since we talked earlier about those who are like uneasy about certain things when it's just not Christianity or it's
Yeah,
just when they look at this new fad of ancestors as something strange. But in the culture, we're quick to be like a praying grandmama. Your praying grandmama did, and you're praying, and she's still praying. That's your ancestors, people. I just wanted to highlight that.
period. Period.
But because it's a new terminology, but so you find it strange. But I really want them to take away from this to open mind and know that it's more than okay to be different. It's more than okay to be multi passionate. That is your secret sauce.
Yeah,
Because looking like everybody else, how are your people supposed to find you?
exactly.
If everybody looks like Waldo, Waldo's never going to stand out. And it was hard enough finding Waldo in his stripes amongst everybody else on the page, right? So embrace that. I just recently realized that there was a piece of me, my events planning part of me, that I haven't been using. And I was like, but that's like you. And so, sneak peek, it's going to be involved soon and very soon to some things in the future. Because I was like, I'm telling people to embrace everything that is them and that's their secret sauce, but I'm neglecting that piece of me.
Yeah,
And I know if I bring it in, it's about to be on and popping. So yeah, it's more than okay. It should be encouraged. It should be celebrated. When people, shame you for being different, just be like, all superheroes had things that people were afraid of. The Hulk turned green, Superman could fly. Those weren't normal things, but it made them super and it allowed them to help so many different people. So embrace everything that is you and go make the world a better place. So, okay, let's see. Last but not least, any shout outs? Who's in your squad? Like, who have you connected with that helped you with your success?
so this one was the hardest one and this is when I had to be honest with myself
Mm-hmm.
and just be honest here on this podcast. I have done a piss poor job of allowing people to be in my circle. I have pushed people away because I felt like, oh, I have to be the strong Black woman. I have to do it by myself. And, I can be there for other people, but I wasn't able to allow people in to be there for me.
That's
And I
real.
and I do feel like I have people who I know in their circle, like because I am helpful and I am a giver, but I have been a really bad receiver.
Mm,
And I had to recognize that in my life. And it's something I've been working on more recently. Um, but because of that, I haven't allowed myself to have that community that I've wanted to have. And it sucks, but it's the reality that I had to shine the light on, be aware about it, investigate it, and then make decision to choose to make a change or not.
yeah. And you're not alone. I hear, I mean, clearly Drake made a whole a whole song, No New Friends, right? So there are so many of us, because it took me a while to even ask for help. Um, because I was like, I don't want to bother them or did it, whatever the case may be. But once I did, it was a very humbling experience for me.
Yeah.
Um, because there was an overpouring of let me help you. You help me. And I'm just like, oh, like it really was a moment that I had to sit in. Um, and it was for an event. And people were like, how do you feel? And I was like, humbled. And they were like, well, you should be excited and da da da. And everybody was telling me how I should feel.
Yep.
And I didn't feel that. I just literally wanted to cry from being humbled because I don't know why I didn't expect it, but I didn't. Right.
Yeah.
But at that point is when I also realized that that was only successful because of them. And I had to go through that phase, like you said, look at it in the eye, call a spade, and then make a decision from there. And I can't say I didn't look back, because everything in life with change takes time. And there were times that I still tried to do it all on my own, but I was like, this is literally like building a house by myself. And
Yeah.
if I just ask for some help, this could be done a whole lot faster and in better quality. So I'm here to support you as always.
Which I know you are. And that's the thing. Like, I have people who I know who are supportive. There's people like you. I know people who have played a huge role in my life. I believe Lamar Tyler of Traffic Sales and Profit was a huge part of me getting to where I am. Like, I was in his mastermind, and he was the first person to bring on a life coach to work with on mindset. And that's when I started shifting. The mindset coach I started working with was Precious Bivens, who was a game changer and was a straight talker who got me to get to where I am. Um, and then, Paul Brunson. So there's people who have been really instrumental in me getting to where I am. And there's people who I've connected with, through Patrice Washington. I've met people like you. I've met Nicole Roan, who is a capacity coach, and so many other people who have been there and have showed me different ways, being friends in a group with, Gwen Jameer of Naturalicious and Sharice Jones of Sassy Jones has taught me that I am worthy and that there's so many paths to get to where you want to be if you continue to go on your path.
Mhm.
And me getting to where I am has got me to the point where I've recognized I need to build a community. And that's what I've been working on. But I had to first recognize that I need to stop pushing people away if I want a community.
Yeah. Well, you know what's so funny is like you just named a community. A community doesn't have to be the masses.
True.
Um, and I'm guilty for not always staying in contact like I would like to. And I feel like the bad friend sometimes because I have those that constantly, well, not constantly, but consistently reach out and say, hey, how you doing? Right. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I really should call people. And I'm trying to keep my head down and do the work so I can come outside and play. And, I have all of those, but you do got you have the community. And,
Yeah.
and we just, take your time in how you use us and just know that we're here. So as long as you know we're here and you have the community, I feel good.
I love it. Thank you. And it's one of those things where we talked about it a little bit earlier. The community where I kind of go to, like where I physically and emotionally go to right now is my ancestors. And that's new to me. And this is like brand spanking new to me. But it's where I go. And like, though my cousin has passed, doesn't mean I can't still talk to her.
Oh no, yeah,
It
definitely.
doesn't mean that, my grandmothers and the queens that are part of my family can't be here to support me. And I still have two other friends who I know where my ride or died that have been with me for years who have seen the journey. Because I'm not the same person I was last year. And I'm sure the heck not the same person I was 5 years ago. I don't even recognize her. And God forbid, 10 years ago, she was in victim land. She was trying to survive and not thrive. And I'm not her anymore. And I'm okay with that.
Girl, won't he do it? Because clearly, if you people say, oh, things can't happen overnight. and they technically can. Like, seriously, once you start to invest in yourself, that 365, nevertheless, 6 months can look completely and holistically different,
Yeah.
not just bits and pieces and patching. Um, and also investing in you comes with people that aren't in your area code and your zip code. Like, I never would have met you if there wasn't a such thing as virtual land and or
Oh
Patricia
no.
Washington, right? And I'm thankful for you. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like we really truly have to lean in and take that time to be real with self and say, self, that over there didn't work. We really don't kind of like feeling that way, and we feel that way a lot. Or I
Mm.
really hate this job. Like, so what are we going to do? And not to say, because I was telling my 9 to 5, I was leaving them for a good 10 years. I literally verbally told them, and they probably stopped listening to me. But at the end of the day, it's like, if I say it, eventually it'll happen. Right.
Yeah.
And so just making that shift, identifying it and trying to figure out and throwing spaghetti at the wall, but investing in yourself at the same time to try to figure these things out and not by yourself. Lean not on thy own understanding, but
And part
yeah.
of what you said, which I think people need to also hear, is that life ain't gotta be hard. It doesn't have to be the struggle. Like we're taught that, oh, it's gotta be hard, it's gotta be a struggle. No, when we start embracing that abundance can come with ease, success
Mm-hmm.
and wealth can come with ease, because there is no rule that says it has to be hard.
Nope,
But when you embrace it, it comes with ease. You show up differently.
you do. Because your mindset is totally different. It's like, I expect the best, not the worst. So I'm
Yeah.
not bracing for the worst. I'm not, saying everybody's a horrible person. Let me, run away and do this by myself. Like, it doesn't. The hardest part about life is making a decision and sticking with it. Now, our decisions come with consequences. Some of those can be reversed, some of those can't. Um, but once you make a decision, God gave us the option of choice.
Yep.
If
And
nothing else, gave us.
everything in life is a choice. Even when you're not making a choice, you're
Mhm.
making a choice not to make a choice.
Say it again for the people in the back.
Even when you're not making a choice, you're making a choice. And everything we do is a choice. I choose to put myself first. I
Mhm,
choose to love people who I want to love in the way that I want to love that works best for me. I choose to know that I am worthy of everything I truly desire because I breathe.
mm.
Not because I'm this or that. It's because I can breathe. And I know all of you are too, which is why I do what I do.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Absolutely. Just because you breathe. Just because. Full stop. Like, I love it. I love it. Well, Danielle, you've told us who you're connected to. Now tell the people how they can connect to you. Where can they find you? And all of that goody goodness. Any programs or things you have coming up? All of the good stuff.
Yeah, so you can find me, and so because I have the two different brands, you can find me in a couple different places. I am, what am I? On Instagram, I'm Hello Well with Danielle, which is the same name as the podcast. And you can also find my podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, anywhere you can hear podcasts, I'm there. So everything under that is under Hello Well with Danielle, and that's the same thing as for Facebook, as well as I have a Facebook group called the Wellness Revolution. And then on, let's see, for Rogue Experiences, I'm Rogue Experiences on Facebook and on Instagram. And I have a group called the Women. Oh, wow, what was the Oh, Women. What was it? Why am I forgetting the name of my group? This is pretty sad. Uh, Women of Color Travel Therapy. I don't know why that just blinked on me because I'm like, I see the picture. I'm like, I don't even look at the name anymore because it's so long. And then I'm on Twitter, but I'm not really on Twitter. Let's be real. But I'm on Twitter as Hello Well Danny, because my name is too long. That really pisses me off because I hate the word Danny. Someone actually reached out to me via Twitter, like, "Hey, Danny." I'm like, "Don't call me Danny. Like, that's not my name." Oh, but it said it. I'm like, no. That's because Twitter has the count difference. And then I'm on TikTok, which is new. It's a Hello with Danielle.
I love it. I love it. Guys, go follow her. She's absolutely amazing. And then one thing I'll say about you is like you are a mood, okay? Like a straight mood. Like whenever I see you, I'm just like, yep, And I was telling her before the podcast started, we were talking about TikTok. And I woke up the other morning and rolled over, probably should have been doing something, more productive. But I got on TikTok and I saw her and she's like, good morning, sis. And I was like, I love it. Good morning, Danielle. And it literally jump started my day. So go follow her. She is a mood and it's high energy. But it's not always like what you guys consider extroverted. It could be like real
I'm not,
chill.
I don't think I'm an extrovert. And people look at me crazy when I say I don't think I'm an extrovert. I think I'm to some degree introvert. I am someone who I love, because I am an empath. I know that I need me time, but I don't think I'm out there like, hey, da da da. I can talk to different people, but I'm not like that person. Um,
You're
I
not,
just
but
feel like, and
that's
that's
what
what,
your energy gives. It's like, hey,
yeah, I'm like, I'm there. My whole thing is, and like when someone was like, oh, someone called me, a coach and an expert and a guru. And I'm like, I'm none of those things. I'm just someone who's been on a journey who wants to help guide other people on that same journey to living hella. I'm your sister girlfriend who may be 2 steps ahead of you, who was wants to kind of pull you along because I know that together we can make amazing ish happen.
and on that note, mic drop, okay? Mic drop.
Thank you so much for having me on here. I love you. I love you. I love what you're doing. We need you. And I appreciate and honor everything that you are.
Oh, well, thank you, Mama Sita, because I absolutely adore you. Thank you for saying yes. I appreciate you. I know this episode is going to change lives and mindsets, um, and hopefully open minds to a new perspective on ancestors and Reiki and tarot. So, as always, thank you so much. I love you to pieces and enjoy your week.
Thank you. Ciao.
Bye.